They handcuffed me in my own driveway while my neighbors watched through their curtains, too terrified to help. Two police officers with shiny badges dragged me toward their squad car, screaming about unpaid HOA fines and criminal property destruction. The acrid smell of burnt barbecue sauce mixed with the metallic taste of pure rage as my Saturday cookout became a public humiliation. My 16-year-old daughter, Sage, stood frozen on the porch, tears streaming, watching her dad get arrested like some common thug. The cold steel of handcuffs bit into my wrists as they slammed me against what looked like a real patrol car. Here's the twist that'll blow your mind: I'm Chief Garrett Blackwood, 12 years running this town's police department. These weren't real cops. They were hired actors with costume badges, sent by my power-hungry HOA president who just made the biggest mistake of her life. But I didn't reveal my identity. I played the helpless victim perfectly. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is letting criminals dig their own graves. When they shoved me into the back seat, I noticed something off. The inside of the car was gutted, no radio, no partition, no in-car computer. Just bare plastic panels and a faint smell of cheap spray paint. One of the officers kept his sunglasses on, even though the sun was slipping behind the houses. That's when I knew for sure, these clowns weren't even trying hard. But I went along, head down, wrists cuffed, heart steady. They drove me 2 blocks down, to the front gates of Oak Ridge Meadows, our pristine little neighborhood that prided itself on order and perfection. Waiting there, like a queen on her throne, was Evelyn Sharp, the HOA president. She stood tall, blonde hair tied in a bun so tight it probably hurt to smile. Her pastel blazer gleamed in the evening light as she looked at me like she'd finally won some lifelong battle. "Well, well," she said, arms folded. "Even the chief of police can't ignore HOA violations forever." The fake officers stood beside her like trained dogs. Evelyn strutted closer, flashing a smug grin. "You think your position puts you above the rules? You built that deck without approval. You hosted loud parties. You refused to pay the citations." I didn't answer. I just looked at her, calm and quiet, letting her dig deeper. She had no idea she'd just crossed the line from petty power games to felony impersonation of law enforcement. From the corner of my eye, I saw my daughter, Sage, running toward me. "Dad," she cried. "Stop. You can't just." But one of the fakes stepped in her path. "Stay back, ma'am," he said, trying to sound authoritative. That did it. My blood boiled, but I kept my poker face. Evelyn leaned in closer. "We're filing charges. You'll learn your place soon enough." I finally spoke, my voice low and steady. "Is that so?" Her smile faltered for just a second. "You think this is funny?" I stared straight into her eyes. "No. I think it's tragic." They dragged me back toward the car, pretending to book me. The neighbors whispered from their porches, phones recording, eyes wide with curiosity. Every second burned into my memory, every insult, every laugh, every false command. When they drove off, they didn't take me to a station. They stopped in an empty parking lot behind the HOA clubhouse. The fake cop stepped out to make a call. That's when I quietly smiled. Because what they didn't know was that the real police were already on their way. The fake cops were pacing near the car, whispering into their phones. I could hear one of them say, "Yeah, we got him. Evelyn wants proof before the sun sets." My wrists still ached from the cuffs, but I wasn't struggling. I sat perfectly still in the back seat, watching their every move through the scratched window. Years on the force had trained me to study people, the nervous twitch of a liar, the shifting stance of someone realizing they've gone too far. The shorter one, mustache, mirrored glasses, shaking hands, looked over at me and said, "You're lucky we didn't have to use force." I almost laughed. "You sure about that?" I asked quietly. He turned away fast, pretending he hadn't heard. They were actors, not criminals. They didn't realize impersonating an officer in this town could get you 5 years minimum. The sound of distant sirens broke the silence, faint at first, then slowly growing louder. I leaned back and smiled. Those weren't my men coming for me. Not yet. That was the neighborhood patrol, responding to a disturbance. Evelyn's own HOA security. This was about to get fun. Evelyn arrived moments later, strutting across the parking lot like she owned the earth beneath her heels. She tapped on the car window. "Mr. Blackwood, since you're so fond of breaking rules, consider this your final notice. Your membership in this community is terminated." "Terminated?" I asked. "That's not even legal." "Oh, it will be," she said, smirking. "You've embarrassed this neighborhood for the last time." The HOA's security truck pulled up behind her, blue lights flashing. 2 more men in fake uniforms got out. All hired. All paid off. I counted 6 of them now, and none carried real badges. I took a slow breath. Patience, Garrett. Let the web tighten. Then my phone buzzed, the one they hadn't found in my back pocket. I glanced down just enough to see a message flash across the screen. "Dispatch, Chief, you okay? Units are 2 minutes out." Perfect timing. I shifted in my seat and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "You know what the funny thing about playing dress-up is?" Evelyn tilted her head, annoyed. "What?" "It always ends when the real ones show up." And right on cue, the first cruiser turned into the lot. Then another. Then 3 more. Real patrol cars, real officers, my officers, stepping out with real badges shining under the fading sun. Evelyn's smug grin dissolved into pure confusion. "What the, who called them?" she barked. My men approached cautiously, weapons holstered but ready. Officer Torres, my deputy chief, saw me in the back seat and froze. "Chief." I nodded once. "Get these toys off me." The look on Evelyn's face was priceless. He's not the chief," she stammered. "He's lying." Torres glanced at me, then at her. "Ma'am, you just assaulted and detained the chief of police under false pretenses. I suggest you start praying." The fake officers tried to run. One bolted toward the clubhouse. Another dropped his fake badge and fell to his knees. Within seconds, the lot lit up with flashing lights, commands, and handcuffs, this time the real kind. Evelyn's perfect world started to crumble. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president," she screamed. I stepped out of the car, rubbing my wrists where the metal had bitten deep. "You're not the law, Evelyn. You're just someone who thought the rules didn't apply to her." She pointed at me, trembling. "This isn't over." I leaned closer, my voice low. "Oh, it's just beginning." Because I wasn't done yet. I didn't want her arrested, not yet. I wanted her exposed. By morning, Oak Ridge Meadows looked peaceful again, but beneath the freshly cut lawns and pastel mailboxes, panic simmered. Half the neighborhood had seen the spectacle last night. Every porch camera, every Ring doorbell, every curious eye had caught a glimpse of their proud HOA president ordering my arrest. And though Evelyn thought she'd buried the evidence, my team was already digging it up. I spent the night at the station, watching the footage over black coffee. Every second made me angrier, the way she laughed as the fake cops shoved me, the way Sage's voice cracked when she screamed for them to stop. I'd been humiliated in front of my daughter. And Evelyn Sharp was going to feel every ounce of that shame, multiplied by 10. By sunrise, I had a plan. I didn't want to throw her in jail yet. I wanted to strip away her power, piece by piece, in front of the very people she ruled with fear. Oak Ridge Meadows had been her little empire, a place where neighbors whispered instead of speaking, where she found retirees for weeds and bullied young families for toys on their lawns. I wanted her empire to collapse from within. At 9 a.m., I showed up at the HOA office, plain clothes, no badge showing. The receptionist froze when she saw me. "And Mr. Blackwood, the board isn't." "I'm not here for the board," I said, walking straight past her. Evelyn's office door was half open. She was inside, shredding papers like her life depended on it. "Morning, Evelyn," I said calmly. Her head snapped up. "You can't be here," she said, voice trembling. "This is private property." "Then arrest me again," I said. "You seem to be good at that." Her lips tightened. "Those men acted independently." "Really?" "Because one of them confessed last night, said you paid him in cash and told him the chief would get what's coming." For the first time, her confidence cracked. She turned pale. "You can't prove that," she muttered. I stepped closer and dropped a flash drive onto her desk. "That's every second of last night, 6 camera angles, audio included. You really should have checked your neighbor's doorbells before staging a felony." Her shaking hand hovered over the drive, but I stopped her. "Don't bother. The evidence is already in the system. This is just a courtesy copy, for your memories." Then I leaned closer. "You're going to call an emergency HOA meeting tonight. You'll announce your resignation. And you'll do it with a smile." Evelyn's eyes filled with rage. "You can't control me." I smiled. "You controlled everyone here for years. Consider this balance." She glared at me. "If you think I'll step down quietly." "I don't want quiet," I said. "I want public." That night, the community center was packed. Every homeowner came, some curious, some furious, some just there for the gossip. I stood in the back, arms folded, watching Evelyn walk to the podium. Her perfect posture was gone. She looked smaller, almost human. "Good evening," she began, voice trembling. "There have been misunderstandings regarding last night's incident." The murmurs started immediately. People had seen the videos. They knew. A man from the back shouted, "You had our police chief arrested." "For what?" "A deck." Evelyn's speech fell apart. Her hands shook. "Please, everyone, let's stay calm." I stepped forward slowly. Every eye turned toward me. "You heard her," I said. "Let's stay calm. The law will handle the rest." The crowd erupted, some cheering, some filming, others shouting questions. Evelyn stumbled off the stage, eyes wild. And as she passed me, I whispered, "This is only the beginning." Because she wasn't the only one guilty. There were others on that board, names I'd seen on the payment logs. People who helped cover her tracks. Tomorrow, I'd start uncovering them one by one. The night of the HOA meeting changed everything. For the first time in years, Oak Ridge Meadows wasn't whispering behind closed doors, it was roaring. People who once bowed to Evelyn's authority were now calling for her resignation. Cameras rolled, phones streamed, and within hours, the video hit social media. By morning, it had over 400,000 views. HOA president caught using fake cops to arrest police chief. It spread like wildfire. I didn't post it. I didn't need to. The truth had a way of finding light all by itself. When I got to the station that morning, my inbox was flooded. Reporters. Legal departments. Even other police chiefs across the state. Everyone wanted to know how a suburban HOA had staged a fake arrest. I gave them all the same line. "We're investigating potential impersonation and conspiracy charges." But privately, my mission wasn't done. Evelyn may have been the face, but she hadn't acted alone. My gut told me there were names behind her, people who had signed off on her schemes, hidden her violations, even funneled HOA funds into personal projects. So, I went digging. My tech unit pulled the HOA's financial records, every transfer, every invoice. I spent hours combing through them until I found something that made my stomach turn. Payments labeled landscape consulting and security upgrades had been going to shell companies registered under board members' relatives. One of them was Tom Redding, the HOA treasurer, a man who smiled in every photo but never met a lie he didn't like. Another was Janet Moore, head of community beautification, who'd been taking a cut from every contractor in town. They'd turned the HOA into a personal cash machine. By noon, I had enough evidence to make their perfect world crumble. But I wanted them to feel it. Slowly. That evening, I called an HOA board security briefing. I told them it was mandatory, a chance to discuss community safety after the fake arrest. They showed up nervous but curious, expecting forgiveness. Instead, they got truth. I started the meeting with a smile. Before we begin, I said, we'll be recording this for transparency. Janet frowned. Is that really necessary? I nodded. Given recent impersonations, yes. I clicked the remote, and the projector flickered on. Bank statements. Receipts. Fake invoices. Every dirty secret up on the screen, glowing under fluorescent light. The room went silent. You could hear hearts breaking, or maybe pride cracking. Tom's voice quivered. Where did you get that? I stepped closer. Public record. You forgot to clean your paper trail. Amateur mistake. Evelyn sat in the corner, pale and silent. Her empire was falling apart around her, and she couldn't stop it. I looked at each of them. You faked my arrest. You funneled funds. You extorted your own neighbors. You don't represent this community, you poisoned it. Tom slammed the table. You can't prove intent. I smiled. I don't have to. You did that on camera. I hit play. The screen showed Tom signing a document, laughing with Evelyn about the chief's reaction. Gasps filled the room. Janet buried her face in her hands. Oh my God. That's when Evelyn stood up. Enough. This is harassment. You think you're the hero, Garrett? You're nothing but a bully with a badge. I walked toward her slowly, voice calm but cutting. You're right about one thing, Evelyn. I do have a badge. And tonight, it's going to mean something. Outside, I could see flashing lights approaching. My officers were here with arrest warrants, the real kind this time. Evelyn's face turned ghost white. Tom tried to bolt. Janet started sobbing. As the officers entered, I said quietly, you wanted order, Evelyn. Consider this order restored. They cuffed her and the others, reading them their rights. And for the first time in a long time, Oak Ridge Meadows was quiet, not the silence of fear, but of freedom. By the next morning, Oak Ridge Meadows wasn't the same place anymore. The once spotless streets were now filled with reporters, police cruisers, and stunned residents who couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. Evelyn Sharp, the queen of control, had been led out of the HOA clubhouse in handcuffs, real ones this time. The same driveway where I'd been humiliated just days earlier was now her walk of shame. Cameras clicked. Neighbors whispered. Justice had finally come home. But even as I watched from a distance, I didn't feel joy, not yet. What I felt was stillness. The storm was over, but its echoes lingered. Sage walked up beside me, her small hand slipping into mine. They really arrested her, she asked softly. I nodded. Yeah. And the others too. It's done. She looked at me for a moment, her eyes searching my face. You didn't even fight back that day. Why? I turned to her, my voice steady but heavy. Because sometimes, Sage, power isn't about what you can do in the moment, it's about what you let unfold. They wanted a reaction. I gave them a lesson instead. She smiled faintly. You played them. I chuckled. Something like that. Behind us, neighbors began gathering. People I'd barely spoken to in years, the same ones who had stayed silent when the HOA bullied them, were now walking toward me. An older couple, the McAllisters, approached first. "Chief Blackwood," Mrs. McAllister said, her voice trembling, "We're sorry. We should have spoken up sooner." I shook my head. "You don't owe me an apology. You were scared." That's what she thrived on. One by one, others joined in, thanking me, hugging Sage, promising to help rebuild the neighborhood without fear. For the first time in years, Oak Ridge Meadows felt human again. A week later, the HOA's sign was taken down. A new one went up. Oak Ridge Community Association, resident-led and accountable. No more secret fines. No more power games. Just neighbors. The local news ran the story for days. Evelyn and her board faced multiple charges: impersonation, fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. She tried to fight it, of course, claiming she'd been set up. But the evidence spoke louder than her arrogance ever could. During the trial, I sat in the back row, watching her crumble under the weight of her own lies. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, she turned once to look at me. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just nodded, calm and steady. The war was over. Afterward, I drove back to my house. The same driveway. The same porch where Sage had once stood crying. Now, she was there again, older in spirit, smiling wide, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. "Peace offering," she said. I sat beside her, watching the sun dip behind the trees. The air smelled like barbecue again, the good kind, not burnt rage, but family. "You know," I said quietly, "I used to think protecting this town meant enforcing the law. But it's more than that. It's about protecting people from fear, even when fear wears a friendly smile." Sage leaned on my shoulder. "So what now, Chief?" I smiled at the horizon. "Now. We live." As the sky turned gold, neighbors began setting up chairs on their lawns. Kids played in the sprinklers. Laughter returned to Oak Ridge Meadows like rain after a drought. The place that once symbolized control now stood for community. And for the first time since that awful day, I felt something I hadn't in a long time: peace. Because the HOA had taken my dignity once. But I'd taken back my town. And this time, it would stay free.